So,
Hi, Cindy.
how you doing?
I am fantastic. We are with,
Well, I just told you off, so I'm not sure how good you feel.
I mean.
I left Cuban coffee from La Solas Cafe and croquetas behind me.
We owe you a lot. A lot.
I know.
So, okay. You live locally, though. We'll send you a nice gift basket.
I will be expecting it. Thank you.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
So how's the weekend been for you?
Always good.
Uh-huh.
Always good. Supercon I've been doing since Mikey started the show 11 years ago.
Oh, okay.
In a little hotel, and he's grown with the show. The show is people I've worked with, like Chris, who's now a black shirt, he's big shot, and was one of the first guys I worked with as a volunteer. And Mikey's good. It starts at the top. If you have good people working for you, it trickles down. And if somebody's full of it, it's hi, please, thank you, but screw with me two times and change your phone number. I'm not calling
Absolutely.
you. I'm not calling you again. So it's a wonderful group of people who work well together. So that being said, people who come in enjoy the show. The most important thing is that I want to see, people walk away from Florida Supercon going, damn, that was fun. Let's do it again next year.
Absolutely. And I think they've been pretty excited this weekend. I mean, they've had a huge array of celebrities to meet this time around.
Array? I mean, like everything that you could imagine was represented. Stuff I'm like walking around going, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then I get to meet people I have crushes on. The best part of my job, I get to walk over to people that, I've seen and admired and have little chats with them and get to know. It's like, it's Disneyland for me, except I'm one of the, amusements in the park.
Yeah, Space Mountain gets to walk over to the Hall of Presidents whenever they want to.
It's exactly that. Yeah.
Who was the big celebrity that you got to see today that...
Well, off and on, I've run into Mick Foley, who's like a totally different area. But about 6 years ago at Chiller, up in Jersey, I get a note and a picture. Hi, I'm Mick. I've been in love with you forever. I went, all right, wise guy. So I signed one of my pictures and sent it back. And when I went through a move, somebody stole it. And I let him know. So he came by my table just as I was on my way over here. And, he's giving me, oh, yeah. I said, but Mick, you don't understand. When my boyfriends would watch wrestling, you were the only one I watched because you were so good. And he goes, oh, you're kidding. I said, no. And I could see the sweat. And I said, dude, I got you sweating. My job's done. And he goes, but you do. I said, I'm aware. This is
which is exactly...
It's just fun. It's just kidding around, and it's fun. I was sitting near Henry Winkler. He and I did a job together. Sweetest man in the world. Well, first of all, I can't leave my chair because I've been so lucky to be busy.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Great, yeah.
But just to work with people, I saw David Warner again for the first time in many years. Hasn't changed a lick.
Yeah, really? He's the same?
Huh?
He's the same from when...
I thought you said he was Satan.
No, obviously not. No, he I saw the hat he had to wear in Tron. He's not sane to agree to that. But he's pretty much the same as he always been, huh?
Well, he's very quiet and very unassuming and very British, and then you lock eyes with him and get into something, and in 3 or 4 sentences he can take you apart. He's that good and walks away like nothing happened. He's good.
Yeah, he's a powerful performer even in conversation.
Well, you saw him in the panel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Said very little. I'm deaf in one ear. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the hell you are.
And then when he came alive, when it was time to answer a question, absolutely.
Yeah, he's awesome. I'm not doing that to scare you. I'm just moving it.
No, that's fine.
I put my watch out on the table saying, dude, 30 minutes. No. But I'm just kidding.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your early career in radio.
Yeah. Bruce won't let me talk about it.
Right.
Will not let me talk about it. I don't want to hear about broadcasting. I said, then don't talk about horses, because I'm sick of hearing about your damn horses.
But it's, is there a reason there for that? Is it,
Competition.
Okay.
No big deal. I'm good at something. He doesn't like it. So
Fair enough. Appreciate it.
And so I picked on his, it's not that I love horses.
Right.
My family grew up riding horses. I just don't want to hear the stories again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, not too many stories you can tell, right, for them.
If you're Bruce, you got 2.
Oh, okay. I'm sure he's very proud of those 2.
Yes, yes.
So you majored in communications?
Yeah.
And that's how you went through there, or?
Yeah, but the thing about a communications major is people used to joke about it saying that's a major in nothing because nobody gets a job. But I did. Because I grew up working for a man who had a year and a half of high school.
Right.
And worked his way up to become plant manager as far as you could go with a couple thousand people working for him. And it's real simple, you know. Yeah, I called him one day, and I think I said the story during the panel. I said, Dad, I got a job in this movie called Tron and for Disney, and I'm going to make all this money. And I quoted him a large figure, and he said, that's great, Synth. When are you coming home?
Wow.
So it's a job.
Yeah.
So when I went to communications, the object wasn't to major in I want to be a radio star. The object was I'm going to get a job.
Right.
This is not...
Absolutely, right.
People say I want to be famous. No, get a job first, then think about what happens later.
Right.
And while I went to school, luckily I had a very rough high school. Rough in the sense that the accelerated curriculum, accelerated reading list, few years of Latin, and
Oh, wow.
my dad had me speaking a little bit of Greek when I was 7. Well, he was a mechanical engineer, and you have to use the Greek alphabet for things. So he handed me, he says, can you memorize this? And Daddy's girl memorized everything.
Right.
So when I got to college, I was like, I got this, and would show up for tests. But I started getting jobs in my field.
Okay.
I had 2 for the student station, the TV station, the radio station. I remember the first time I went into school with a stammer, so they put me into speech class. I came out in broadcasting with a job. Well, you make it work. I mean, and so the first time I was on the air, I remember being at the mic, and I remember the copy in front of me, and I was numb from here to here. I couldn't feel a thing. And when so I worked at the student station, and then one day I found out there was a job at the commercial station, and I went in and got it. They said, okay, you're on the air tonight. One condition.
All right.
They know you as Cindy's, a little town called DeKalb, Illinois, where I went to school. Like anybody's going to care. They said, we need another name for you. And I remember reading a story about Morgan Le Fay when I was like 12 years old. Very shy little kid, and she was an illusionary. I saw her as a woman who could make anything happen.
Okay, yeah.
And they said, who are you going to be tonight? I said, Cindy Morgan. So I went through college, finished up, sent out resumes with pictures from Cindy Sikorsky. Didn't get a bite. Cindy Morgan got a job.
Wow.
It flows. It flows
So
real
Cindy
well,
Morgan was it.
Yeah. Wow.
From that point forward.
And did you feel that, because I had heard you from earlier interviews, your knowledge of communications, knowledge of how the entertainment business worked before you got onto film, kind of protected you from a little bit of
Bullshit?
Caddyshack BS, is from what I've heard.
Yeah, you know, it's a job. I always had a sense when I got to LA, just by talking to somebody, I kept hearing the same phrase in meetings, and I was like, what are you talking about? They kept saying, you're so refreshing. And I was like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
You know, what does that mean? After I talked to a few, I figured it out. Everybody just got there, and nobody knew what they were doing. Really. For real. And when I became a producer, I saw for real. Decisions are so arbitrary. Like people, ask me for real, why isn't there a Tron 3? Well, I could put you in a conference room and listen to people argue with each other and come up with an answer that is so arbitrary. I've seen decisions made because I worked as a producer for a while, and it was exactly as I knew. People would come in, and that color dress that woman wore reminds me of the color dress his wife had on last night, and he got mad, so they didn't call her back. So arbitrary that there's science is out the door. Now the problem is, it's leaning. It should be a balance. If you had a scales, show and business, enough show, enough business. Don't go too far. But now it's so business. There is a demand for an immediate return on an investment.
Yeah.
So the guys in accounting and whatever departments think there's a formula. When they think there's a formula, I'll bring up Caddyshack 2. There is no formula.
Absolutely.
They call it movie magic. You get the best people for the right job with proven track records, put it together, take a look at it, and then get people who are professionals to take a look at it. Does this combination work? Look at it. Because the guys will go, yeah, but, forget the yeah buts. Put them outside.
Right.
And if you're not old enough to drive, get out of the meeting. Because I've had meetings with people, I'm like, you're all 24 and you're all mate named Kevin and you're all producers on this movie? Why am I talking to you? They got very upset. They go, whoa, and I'm like, and decisions are made on it's gambling.
Right.
So why not bring in people with track records? I know a lot of good professors who people who ended up as professors at college. Because they're still teaching people, because they're still talented, and they still have movie magic, and they're passing it on.
Yeah, that does need to happen. The experience does need to be passed down.
Yeah, but you can't exactly teach it or calculate it. You either have it or you don't. You can refine it.
Right.
And you can do things like they told me, like, all right, if you hit a mark, continue to hit that mark. Just don't wander around the stage.
Right.
Because I wasn't even an actor. I was in broadcasting. I would just do whatever came naturally. So, a few simple things like that.
Right.
But other than that, you can't teach it.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. Would you have? I don't want to. Again, as always.
Oh no, this is it's very fascinating because actually I went to college for theater and radio TV production.
Okay.
So I did a double major.
How many in your class? How many times did you see what I just described?
Oh, all the time. So yeah, that's why I was just like, if you notice, I was doing the open gate like.
Yeah,
it's so true.
Because you see, the teacher will say, "Well, this is a formula. Do it like this," and I listened to that a couple times, and I went, "Yeah, I got something else to do." And I would just be out of that class because it would just destroy my will to live, listening to this crap. I'm like, don't talk to me anymore. You're making my head hurt. And I would get out and what frustrated, made a lot of people upset was you just come in and do the job. Okay, where's the mark? What are we doing today? Okay, let's just do it.
Exactly, yeah.
Because if you take away that natural quality a lot of people have, and you try to make something you lose so much. You can act, sure, acting's great. But then people kept saying things like, "Why aren't you worried about computers because they'll take away your jobs?" And I keep going, well, why not? I said, because I can do one thing computers can't. I can make mistakes. That's the human element. That's what people are watching. Not the perfection and the dance. They're just. Do you ever see a baby meet another baby and they can't stop staring at each other? Humans want to see that human element.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can't replace.
Absolutely.
I agree 100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
And I don't want to crush that in somebody by telling them, "Oh, you have to do it my way." You can learn other ways of doing things, but you got to keep that human. If you lose it, it's gone.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I absolutely agree that you word it in a way that it just makes so much sense. You're like, yes, I see it.
It's like, why did I take those 13 classes? Why didn't I just do that?
Yeah. No, it's totally there because sometimes it's a good balance between like tech and smarts and art.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be aware of your tech. You have to be aware of your spots. You have to be aware, and I'm also a tech, and I'm also a sound engineer. I can't tell you the number of times a sound engineer said, "I just need to snake this up your blouse," and I've got an FCC license that says you don't. Give me the goddamn. Excuse me.
I think we're fine.
That's okay.
Give me that thing, and I'll let you know. Go out there and look at your meters. I'll run the test myself. I mean, like, knock it off. And lucky for me, when I started in broadcasting, I went to a market, Rockford, Illinois, when I actually went to work. So when I worked in TV and radio, I had 2 jobs. I was thrilled to have it. I got up around 11, went to work from noon until 10:30 at the TV station, doing every single thing there. When the cameraman didn't show up, I would do the weather badly. I was the worst weather person on the planet. No. The director had to write Atlantic Pacific. But he would yell and scream, and I'd say, "How are my ratings? Good? Shut up." I think people are tuning in just to see what I'm going to say. And then I'd go home for a couple hours, and I'd get up and I'd do a radio shift from 2 to 6. And I was thrilled.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't be?
Yeah, I love being on, as exhausting as it is.
But I wasn't getting enough money. And I was doing morning drive in Chicago, at the time the second largest market, because towers haven't changed their height. The same towers are the same size. So in Chicago, we had a 360-degree circumference, where at the time there was no internet, and LA only had 180, I don't know the exact dimensions. And New York was New York. So Chicago was the second largest market in the world. And I was doing morning drive at the second largest market in the world as a female, running my own board, flipping on the tower at the Hancock Center, and pulling my own music, reading my own news, running my own board, doing the whole show, and making $135 a week. And after a while, I went, okay. And then they took away my overtime and gave it to a guy. And I said, okay, we're gonna have to have a little talk. And I worked for the Chess Checker record people. Do you know who they are?
No.
Cadillac Records. Do you know who they are?
Yes.
That's who they are.
Okay.
WVON was
Yeah.
the AM station. WSDM was the FM station.
Okay.
Okay.
And they didn't believe in paying people. So I said, I need to do some, I did 5 minutes of modeling, awful job, hard job. I would rather, not. And I said, I'm going to go to LA and be an actress.
Right.
And they said, you'll never get a job. And I said, I'll have a billboard on Sunset in a year. And I had one in 8 months. It made so many people angry.
Right. Well, I hate it when they prove you wrong.
Well, I didn't do it to make them mad. I did it to do my job.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm breaking it down to, this is a job. I'm not Saint Teresa. This is not anything. I'm doing a job just like anybody else. It just happens to be in the public, which means there's rules. People confuse power and responsibility every single day, especially with the internet now. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
And we had a responsibility drilled into our heads when you take that FCC test. People get sued, fired, if you don't do it. So.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Let's go to a more cheerful topic.
Okay. Well, I mean, we can let's continue with you getting that movie and talk about Caddyshack, if you would want to.
Sure. I read a script. I remember reading it on Venice Beach, and I was reading it going, well, I'm not this. I'll never get this. I got nothing to lose. So I walked in with the best possible attitude. I'll never get this job. I got nothing to lose. So I'll just do whatever I want. Till I went to the second audition. I was the only one there to read for that part.
Oh.
I walked out into the parking lot, hyperventilating, going, these guys think I'm going to do this. I went, focus, concentrate on one thing. Make the guy, hope it's a guy, you're reading with, sweat. That's all. Don't worry about anything else. I was reading with Doug Canny.
Okay.
And when I saw the sweat come down, I got this job.
You Mick Foley'd him.
Well, so to speak, yes.
When you started it, obviously it was the first time entering a big movie production for you.
It wasn't a big movie production. There were a bunch of guys. How blunt can I be? All right.
Go ahead.
Four of the funniest men on the planet
Uh-huh.
moved as far away from the studios as they could.
Uh-huh.
South Florida, where there was no internet. There were landlines at best.
Right.
And have a good time making what they thought would be an Animal House kind of a movie. Of course, once we got to the set, there were, again, very well-trained people. Let me preface it with that.
Uh-huh.
But there were festivities.
That was one of my questions. I mean, did you find it was a very, very supportive staff, or was it kind of a
Staff? Supportive?
Or
it was Caddyshack. What are you talking about? Use words that apply.
Were you in a boys' club, basically?
Yeah, it was mostly guys, and I sat down with the one woman who was in the cast. I said, listen, I don't compete with women. And it was 1979, so let me explain that. Women had just gotten the right to choose because of the pill. So I said to this woman, look, I don't compete with women. So I pick one, you pick one, I pick one, you pick one. I'll stay out of your territory and you stay out of mine. And I didn't see it as a boys' club because they started pushing me way too hard right off the start. Backed me into a corner over a couple of very important things, threatened me, broke my contract, called my agent for help. And he said, honey, you're not a doe-eyed girl from the Midwest, handle it. I went back to the landline. John Peters, who's admitted it on the Biography Channel special, I was learning lots of new words that day. Screaming, yelling, broke my contract, you'll never work in this town again. I'm taking away your paid ads, I'm taking away your billing. So I lost everything. Now, this guy thought that he had anything to bargain with at this point.
Right.
So I said, so be it, but now I'm clearing the set. Enough BS. This was the nude scene. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do. I don't want anybody here. I have a job to do. So everybody get the hell out of here. I want to see 4 guys.
Right.
Old cameras. I want that director of photography running camera. He can do it. We need a focus puller. Harold Ramis is directing, that actor. Until then, I got all day. Take your time. You've taken everything from me. Now let's go to work.
Right.
Well, they didn't like that. There was yelling for about an hour and a half because they'd already taken everything. But I also knew they had enough film in the can. I wasn't going anywhere. Because I had a communications background, I knew they couldn't repeat those scenes. They'd have to pay a fortune.
Yeah.
So everybody was angry, but they did me a favor. In fact, I should probably send them a thank you note because I was so angry, I wasn't afraid anymore. And it gave me something to do. And that was the day Lacey was born.
Nice.
For you.
Well, I mean, you know.
But I walked home that night, and I remember, I didn't know what I was thinking. It was a very rough day, lots of fighting. And I remember coming home to this, little hotel they had us staying in. I remember looking in the mirror going, you lost everything today. And you did the right thing. I could look myself in the mirror.
Yeah, that's it.
And this is going to make one hell of a great story someday.
Absolutely.
It has.
And I didn't work for a long time. I didn't work. I moved to William Morris. I had more lunches with agents than auditions. That is disproportionate.
Right.
Until Disney came calling about a year and a half later. And I went right past the audition process, oddly enough. And I went right straight up to the office with some pages that made no sense. There was some guy named Jeff Bridges I saw in some gorilla movie, and King Kong.
Was it with it that time?
Jessica
yeah,
Lange.
Okay, yeah.
I remember him from.
That was during the remake, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, why are you here? What does this mean? And who's this guy, Steven? And they put me and Deborah Harry on tape, and I got the job. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll do this job. But what had happened, what I didn't know, was before Caddyshack, I was in a comedy club. I picked the best comedy class in town, Harvey Lembeck's class.
Okay.
I was dating a guy from the class. He had a job in a cartoon. We went to lunch with the people in the cartoon, and I wasn't really paying attention. They reworked it, rewrote it, turned it from animated cartoon into CGI. They took it to Disney. That was Tron. He was cast in Tron. He was out. I was in. I didn't know this.
Wow.
At that lunch, they decided to cast me.
Huh.
So.
Wow, that's amazing.
I wasn't trying to get the job. Many years later, I asked him, Larry Anderson, I said, Larry, was that Tron? And he goes, yeah, and I never took another actress to lunch again. So that's how I got it.
Right.
And started working again.
That's wow. And then we've talked about the Tron experience at the Q&A, how you basically running around in the dark, with a couple of lines and going on an X that wasn't even there.
Well, it was like Caddyshack. You walk in and what you were going to do that day had nothing to do with anything that I had a reference point for.
Right. Or
made any sense. So, okay, what are we going to do?
From your point of view, and I know a lot of people try and hold it high regards for they love it, their cult status, but why do you think the movie failed at its time?
Which one, Tron?
Tron.
I can tell you what I was told.
Okay.
Well, there were some screenings of Tron, and one particular screening was for some writers, and the Wall Street Journal reporter didn't like it and gave it a bad review. Investors started pulling, from what I heard.
Right.
Money started dropping, and they pulled their promotion.
So just the lack of nationwide promotion pretty much doomed it because of this Wall Street Journal.
I was the only one who did the press junket. I still continued with the press junket and went straight into Bring It Back Alive. But I heard the Wall Street Journal reporter didn't like it. Because of that, investments dropped.
Right.
Because of that, the promotion budget was pulled. And because of that, you pull a promotion. If a tree falls in the forest,
right.
You pull the promotion budget.
Yeah.
If a movie happens,
Yeah, I mean, I still did the Tonight Show. It was still on Time Magazine. But at that point, it's always been a media-determined society. But at that point, there were like 3 guys in a back room making decisions.
Right.
Now, everybody sitting in this audience is making the decision. And people here go online and say things. Web crawlers go out at night, reports go on people's desks in the morning, and they try, it's like they're doing stock reports. They're trying to make their best guess based on what they're reading. Now, if you got somebody with a heart and soul in there and said, well, why do you think it's working? And sat where I was sitting, talking to people at the desk, they might have a different point of view. Instead of looking at numbers and stats and IMDb numbers, listen to what people are saying. Look in their eyes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a whole different thing going on.
Absolutely, because it seems to be this weird magic number they keep looking for. Because, again, Tron Legacy, for most people, the amount of money it made would have been sufficient. But for some reason, even that was considered
Well, the basic formula
disappointment.
is triple the cost.
Triple the cost. Okay.
You've heard that, right?
Oh, yeah, my dad used to run a restaurant, and that's what we used to do for prices. So
Well,
we
that's-
understand to
that's-
make a
that's-
profit. So that's what we
That's what
understand.
people say. That's what they do. But you got to understand, Disney owns the entire property.
Right.
So they can forever, this can come out many different ways, and I'm not saying anything I shouldn't, because everybody either knows this or doesn't,
Right.
but there's no way that they can turn it into another product.
Which, I mean, I know.
And I'm not saying this to be disrespectful and saying things that I should know. I've never sat in on one of their meetings.
Right.
Everybody, this is what people in the industry talk about.
Okay.
Not to the public. If the public knew that,
Right.
they might have another way of looking at it.
Probably. I mean, the public's very good with forming their own
Figuring things out.
opinions and
Yeah.
being very vocal. In fact, I know there was a huge web campaign to bring Yori back for Tron Legacy. It was pretty massive.
I was a real thorn in the side of the situation. And the thing is, the character was well loved. Somebody made a decision. And when you make a decision in a certain position of power, you have to stand behind it.
Right.
And I understand doing that. I understand being strong. But I also understand how the public reacts to humility.
Okay.
If someone says, you know what, we're doing this, but we're going to pull back on our release date a couple of months because we've listened to you. We're not telling you anymore. Actually, that would make it, I think, more intriguing. It could have been done, but it wasn't my job to do. What I did do was this. I put up websites in every platform I was familiar with, and I made sure I had plenty of content, and I gave people a forum to speak.
Okay.
I didn't do the talking.
Right.
I think it's much more polite to let other people do the talking for you.
Absolutely.
And press picked it up, and it worked.
And then they brought you back before or after for the voice acting work?
They never brought me back.
They never brought you back? I thought you were...
They let me participate. They invited me to participate in the promotion of a combination press thing, and they were actually filming that night too in San Francisco. To sort of, I have no idea the thinking behind it, because if, I can't see the result they were going for, personally.
Yeah, for some reason, didn't they use you in a game or something like that, or?
That was 2.0. That
2.0.
was after. That was in 2003.
Okay,
4.
so that was way before.
Yeah.
Okay. I had to get my timeline straight. I'm like, I know they brought you back briefly at least, but nothing.
Oh, I've been dead and alive several times.
Oh, okay.
But here's what I keep saying to people going, this is canon. People treat Caddyshack like a lifestyle. They treat Tron like a religion. They use words like canon. And what I say is, just remember, this is science fiction.
Right.
Anything's possible. And on my team, I had people who had a lot of vocal opinions, and they were very angry, and I had to sit them all down because they were getting very excitable and saying things that were disrespectful about the studio and disrespectful about what my contribution was. And however, I closed the door and I said, listen, we can have our feelings here. If you're going to bleed with me. Now open that door, and we have 2 rules. Always respect Disney and no whining.
Right.
If I hear any whining, I'm going to cut you off. I was doing a conference call interview with CNN, and I had somebody on the line, and the person who was working with me, was going, well, I just don't think it's fair. Bruce is in it and Jeff is in it. And I said, excuse me, Henry from CNN, I have to ask Randy a question. Randy, what are our rules? Always respect Disney. What's the other one? No whining. Because I said, it's a studio.
Right.
How many thousands of people?
Oh.
Do not offend them. Why? Close the door. If we want to have hurt feelings, we'll have hurt feelings.
Right.
But be respectful and stand up straight. Because who doesn't get fired? Who doesn't have a hard day? So what we're going to, be respectful and don't whine. And jam those platforms with content. And give people a place to talk.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I know that sounds really calculating, but what else are you going to do?
No, you need that type of diplomacy in that industry.
Yeah, I would say that's,
I think it's like a business move as opposed to like calculating. I mean, it's like you kind of, it's all.
It is what it is. It's a fait
business, so
accompli.
you have to project,
And be respectful. And of course, one person asked me, how do you feel? I said, well, sure, my feelings were hurt.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. It's business.
Like I said, it's
and
job,
who
work,
hasn't?
Business, yeah.
But I'm not going to whine and complain. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, now we're really getting on a down note. Do you have any questions here?
Actually, I was going to ask about your charity work, since it's 4th of July, and I know you do a lot of work with the military families.
I
wanted
did
to
one
talk
of it.
about.
I'm going to have to rewrite your questions. All right. Something cheerful on there. About 10 years ago, I was approached before it became popular to support the military. And I remember when the Vietnam vets came back.
All right.
And I remember the look in their eyes. And I'll never forget it. They were drafted and how they were treated. I'll never forget it. And personally, well, this is what I did. I'm from the city of Chicago, and I was in business in the city of Chicago. And I just came back, and I requested I was approached by government in the state of Illinois to do this, because they told me that our Illinois soldiers were going overseas without body armor, and that they had to buy it themselves.
I remember that was a huge issue.
And they couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And this is before anybody spoke up about war or support, because they were still in that area. They just didn't know what to say. And I said, all right, I can do this. And so when I got on the air, again, this was a case of, I'm not going to argue about this. And I would just say simply this. I've got friends who are Republicans and Democrats, conservatives and liberals. And for one day, you're all going to shut up and pull it together for the families of military, because these guys are taking bullets over there.
Absolutely.
And getting shot. This is Chicago. We've got a lot of nice bars here. You want to have a fight, go over there. But let these people, when they see news coming home, do not let them see us arguing. Do that and let them see us polarized. Let them see that we support them with our hearts and souls so they can fight bravely and come home safely. Give them heart. Because my dad was a Polish immigrant who fled Europe. And at the age of, I think, 14 or 15, and my uncle, who was 15, lied about their age, like every other young man did at that time, and joined up immediately. Because we're Americans, we're proud to be here. Thank you for letting us here into your country. Where can we sign up? My uncle was 10th Mountain, and I don't know if you know their slogan.
No.
No man left behind. Do you know what that means? They're not talking about the enemy.
Right.
It was when my dad was in Poland, he watched the Polish Lancers on horseback.
Oh, yeah.
Preparing to drill, and they rode directly into the German tanks.
Yeah.
Now I said, Dad, why would you do that? This is suicide. Now I thought maybe this was something my dad was just telling me. And I found out it was the last cavalry charge in history. I said, why did they do this? He said, because if they died, their families would live. Now this is how I was raised, from generations of people who fought. There's no glory about war. They never talk about it. They come home and they do their job and they get home safe. It applies to every single business I know. It's a job. This is getting more and more serious.
I was supposed to be on a high note, the charity thing.
The charity was very difficult.
All right.
Because the people who were, thank God I turned it into a 501c3 immediately.
What was a 501c3?
A legitimate charity or charitable organization.
Okay.
There was no BS. People tried to sell stuff. They tried to do this. They tried to do that. And here's somebody who's never done this before going, yeah, but that's not true. And they go, "Yeah." And finally I got the people from the government. I said, well, you want to talk to the Chicago Sun-Times. They want to back us. Why aren't you meeting with them? Well, look, I'll make a call. We got people into meetings. I got some backing. What we did, we didn't make the money we should have, but we were a 501c3, so that was covered. And what we did do was the second purpose. The second purpose was for me to get on every radio and television station in the city and say that exact story. That only a Chicagoan or anybody from Boston or whatever city you're from would appreciate. Okay, I got friends who are conservatives and liberals and Democrats and Republicans. Shut up.
Right.
People are getting shot at. I'll take a few lawyers and accountants. They're taking bullets. I think they've got it harder. And let's support these people. This is the United States of America.
Right.
Let's pull it together. And not one person said no to me. So I got the message out. That was the good news. And I was very proud of that. And the reason I did that was for my father. And I said, my father's a Polish immigrant who joined the Army because he was proud to be an American.
Right.
I fought everybody, but I held the line. Nobody got away with anything. And then at the event, a Marine came up to me, decorated Marine, and he said, with an accent, he said, I came to talk to you today. I said, why? He said, because I too am Polish. And I too am proud to be an American. Now beat that.
I don't think you can.
No. Of course, the Chicago Tribune, the opposing newspaper, came at me when it didn't make a profit. And somebody called me and said, what are you going to do if you find out somebody did something wrong? And without missing a beat, I said, if I find out anybody did anything wrong, I'll freaking kill them myself. Well, the AP picked it up. And for the next 3 weeks, I'd pick up the phone. Yes, I said it. Yes, I've been told not to kill anybody. I've been since advised.
Oh, my God.
And I won't do it again.
People are
But-
so tired.
What?
People, like...
Yes, thank you. But I find that it's really interesting. If you tell the truth, it has shock value. So...
Well, I'm glad you were here to tell us the truth today. It was a really
one person wouldn't turn in their car, one very important VIP. And I put it to him this way. If you don't return your car, I will have it declared stolen. Now, are you done? That's the
so direct. Yeah,
that's the Chicago way.
Absolutely.
Sir, I don't like your methods. Yeah.
I'm sure that
You're
car
not from Chicago.
That car was cleaned and parked right there for you.
We got it back. But it was the most, to be truth, I did it for my father, to honor him in death.
That's a great way of doing
Because
it.
a headstone isn't a piece of rock. It's remembering that man.
And you got the word out, and it became
That was
a
very
big
important
thing.
because it opened up the dialogue. Let's just get together and support these people. It's not a polarized issue. Take the polarization and throw it out. Support these people.
And it went nationwide. I mean, there were huge national debates over them not being able to afford their own protection.
Exactly. Support them and tell them we're behind them.
Absolutely.
And then people started going to airports and started supporting them. But yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Cindy. This has been great. I've enjoyed this interview.
Even with the swearing and the...
That's made it better.
Even better.
We always get so many, well, it's so nice. I guess everyone was nice. Love, everything was flowers and candy.
Yeah, everyone was nice. What Disney park was this?
We enjoy the honesty. This is refreshing.
Well, I knew you were going to come at me with that. Thank you very much. It was good talking to you. Again, I hope I didn't offend, with my direct language, but
No, I don't.
Absolutely
it's
not.
not a fun business. It's not an easy business. Even the studio has hard decisions to make. So when everybody gets mad at this, don't get mad at them. Write it down. They will hear you. They're not making the decisions. You are. I'm telling you. So if you want something, get it done. I did.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Supercon Live with Cindy Morgan.